So we have an automated test that we did, and this is our feature file. Okay, we had this feature file. We set up this automated test to test PrimeSoft website, and we have automated a form. Okay, so but today, going back to the website, let me show you. So today, we are going to write an automated test for this login functionality on this website. Okay, so when you want to perform a test, be it manual testing or automated test on a particular website, or you want to perform automated test on login functionality, okay, the first thing you do is the happy part, okay, which is the positive scenario where you enter valid username and valid password. Okay, of course, enter the captcha and login. That is the positive scenario. You would expect that that will pass. Then you will also enter invalid username and valid password and check if you will log in successfully. If you enter invalid username and valid password, you'll be expecting an error message when you click on login. Then again, you can enter valid username and invalid password. You will expect an error. When you click on login, you will expect an error message. And then another scenario you can also try is invalid username, invalid password. Click on login. 4 scenarios. Okay, 4 scenarios. Now, when you go to your automated test, you can decide to create your feature file just like we have now. You can decide to create your feature file and say scenario 1, verify user can log in with valid credential. Okay, let me start with that. Anyway, so what I need to do is, because it's a login functionality, I need to create a feature file for my login. Okay, so let's create a feature file. I clicked on feature, add new item. Okay, once I'm here, template is loading. Yeah, so I'm on Specflow. I want to click on feature file for Specflow. Okay, and I want to write the name, which is login. Okay, login.feature. Right. So I've created a feature file, okay, for login. So I would like to write a short message for this just to describe what I want to test. Okay, so I can say as a user, as an automated tester, okay, or as a user, depending on how you want to write it. So I'll just go with as an automation tester. Okay, I want to test the login functionality. Okay, so I can validate. That it is working as expected. So this is my description, and I can now write my feature file. Okay, so I can write my feature file. I can say given. So I do have given. So for me to be able to reuse that particular step, I need to write it. Otherwise, I will have to create another given. But for me to reuse this particular step here, I need to write it exactly as it is. Okay, which is if I come here. Yeah, given. Okay, so I will change the URL because this time around I'm navigating to PrimeSoft, not Softbyt. So I will change the URL. So giving user navigate to PrimeSoft. If I use this particular step as it is, I will be able to reuse. If I click on go to navigation, I will be able to reuse this code. Okay, this particular step, and I will also be able to reuse this method. Okay, I will reuse this method. So that is why it's good. That is why it's good to parameterize. I mean, there are other ways for this as well. You can decide to, like I said before, decide to store this in a config file. Okay, so I've written my first step, which is giving user navigate to the website. Then I can also write my second step, which is user. Okay, and when user click on on login, header menu. Oh, so, okay. When user click on login header menu. Okay, so the next one will be and user enter username and user, I'm going to write in an imperative way, enter password. Okay, my user enter password and user complete captcha, calculation, and user click on login button. So we have our login button here. So then user is expected to log in successfully. Okay, so let's say I want to parameterize this and say and use an enter password. So I'm going to put valid here. Valid username, valid password. Okay, and let's say I want to parameterize it. I can also have here, let's say, for example, my username is, I will just use tester1. Okay, tester, and my password is tester12. Okay, so now this will be valid username and password. Okay, so now recorder, we want to not just do valid username. We don't want to just do only valid username and valid password. We want to also write an automated test, okay, for invalid username and invalid password. So if you want to use scenario, and what you are likely going to use is, what we're likely going to do, okay, is to duplicate this and have another scenario. Let me duplicate it. Duplicate this and have another scenario where you have something like this. So now you will have invalid username and valid password. Okay, so now you will now have here invalid username, yeah, and valid password, because that's what you want. So if you also want to have another scenario where you want to perform a valid username and invalid password, you will have, so this one will be user unsuccessfully. Okay, and user is expected to unsuccessfully to log in. Okay, let's just make it better. And user is expected to, let's say, receive an error message. User is and user will receive an error message. Okay, because you are using invalid username and invalid password. And then let's say that the invalid password will be this, invalid username will be this, and invalid password will be this. Okay, if these are valid. So now if you want to perform another
Yes,
one,
user will receive an error message, correct?
yeah, right? No, right?
Yes.
Receive. No, E comes before I. Is that right? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's right.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So the next scenario will be
Enter invalid password.
yeah. So we'll have yeah invalid password. So you will have to duplicate this again.
You only have invalid username, then the user should enter invalid, but you still have valid there.
Yes. So now is going to be valid username and invalid password. Valid username and invalid password. So all we'll do is here and then have invalid here. Okay. So we can just put the valid username, which is tester. Okay. Yeah. Tester. And now invalid password. Yeah. We're going to remove this. What is the invalid password? 1, 2. Okay. Yeah. This is still invalid anyways. Okay. The valid one is 2 here. So that it makes sense. Okay. So when this happens, you will receive an error message as well. So you can also have another scenario where you want to do both invalid, 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 invalid. Yeah. So what you want here is invalid username and invalid password. Invalid username and invalid password. So these are both invalid, invalid. Okay. Invalid, invalid. So they're all invalid. And you will expect error message. So if you want to automate this and you want to use scenario, you want to use this scenario, these are the number of scenarios you will have. Okay, you can see we have 4 different scenarios. Okay, so you will be expected to use all these scenarios. But then you can simplify your test by using, instead of having all these 4 different scenarios, okay, you can use what is called scenario outline. So instead of now having all these different scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, scenario 4, and the only thing that is common and the only thing that is different in all of them is the different parameters that you are passing. Yeah, so you can use scenario outline. The number of scenarios is raised to power the number and okay. So anyway, so the only thing you are going to, what you can use to do for this is scenario outline. Okay, and Specflow, we all know, provides behavioral-driven development. Okay, so a scenario outline in Specflow, yeah, is a template for a set of test scenario, which allows us to define scenarios in a more generic way and run the same scenario multiple times with different sets of data. So now, instead of us having multiple scenario, doing this up to 4 times, we can use scenario outline, okay, to write our feature file in a more generic way that we can use the same step to run different sets of data. Okay, so now we are now going to remove all this, and then we're not going to remove all this, and we will use just one of these and scenario outline. So instead of having scenario here, so we can now have our scenario outline. Okay, and then we can have our
Outline. There's L.
yep. Yeah. So we can have our scenario outline, and then we can have our login. Okay, and we can have our code. I was missing the L. That's why the outline it wasn't coming through. Okay, so we now have our scenario outline. Okay, So where we have given user navigate to, PrimeSoft websites. Okay. So let me have this again. I can just use the same. To generate that anyway. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to try to make this more generic. Okay, so that we can reuse it for different scenario outline. So for you to do the scenario outline, you have to change this from scenario to scenario outline. Okay, and then this will now be giving user navigate to PrimeSoft. When user click on, I think we're missing the when. The when is not here. Okay, this is one here. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I see that's why this wasn't fine. So when user click on login, okay, login header menu, and user enter valid username. So we're not going to be using valid username again. Okay, we're going to make it generic. We can now just remove this and say when user enter valid username. And recall when we are parameterizing, we're using double quotes. Okay, this double quotation. But when you are using scenario outline, there are things that you need to take note of. Okay, so scenario outline comes with this scenario outline, and you will use example. Okay, you use the keyword example. If you see examples, okay, to outline your data. Okay, you use example to outline your data and you put it in the table. So for you to do that, you need to parameterize the header or the title of your data in this format. Okay, so you need to do it in this format where you have two quotation mark, and this side you have an angle bracket. You have an angle bracket where you have something like this. Okay, and inside it you can now enter the title, and the title is going to be user name. Okay, and for user enter valid password, we're going to change it from valid because that title will be representing, let me put space here, it will be representing different, yeah, so let me put this, so it will be representing different input data. So, and we'll have password here as well. Put password here. So when user calculate the captcha, then user click on login, we're not passing any data. So once we are here, we can enter the name. We can enter the name of our example, which is login credential. We can have it as login, okay, credentials. So we'll have it as login credential. The next thing we need to do is to start creating our table where we put our data. Okay, and we'll do that by starting with this, and we'll now put user. You have to write it exactly as it is here so that you will recognize it. We'll have user name. Okay, so when you have your username, you could put this. Okay, and the next one is password, which is this password. You can have your password as well, and then you can put your pipe here. Okay, so here as well, these are the title, okay, which we parameterize here. So we want to enter. So recall that for our first scenario, we want to enter valid username and valid password. We want to enter valid username and valid password. So the valid username will be this point. We'll enter a valid username here. So let me just paste a valid username here. Put a valid username and then put our type here. Okay, so this is a valid username. We want to also enter a valid password. Okay, I'll just enter a valid password. Valid password. Okay, put this here. So another thing I also want to also parameterize is the expected results. Okay, you know, when we were having different scenarios, we have to change this because it becomes is no longer generic. We'll have to write it to adapt the particular scenario. But here we're using one feature file, okay, and the scenario outline. We can also parameterize this as well. So we can write a logic that will pick each of them. So here we can say an user, okay, we can rewrite this entirely and say, and the expected outcome should be displayed. Okay, so we will save different expected outcome, right? We'll put it in a parameter. Remember, first you put an two quotation mark and then it's an angle bracket, and we want to put inside message. Okay, so you can say it's expected message or just message. So on here, we'll now repeat it as it is, which is message. I can put a pipe as well. Yeah. So, and the message we want to receive here is, so for the valid username and valid password, once you have logged in, you've entered the valid username, you've entered the valid password. Once you've logged in, the next thing you will see is logout. So if you haven't logged in, you won't see the logout button. But once you've logged in, the logout button becomes visible to show you that you've logged in. Note that on the website, there are other things, other messages you can use to validate this. But in this case, we want to use logout. So you can have logouts. Okay, will be displayed. Logout will be displayed. So we can put our pipe as well. So for the next scenario, this is for the first scenario. Okay, so what Specflow does here is, once it comes here, it picks the username, it runs it from left to right. It picks the username, which here, it picks the password, and once this scenario has run, it will pick the expected condition, which is the outcome. Then it comes back again and run the second one. So the second one here is, we're going to have a scenario where we will enter the correct username. We'll enter the correct username, put a pipe, then enter wrong password. Tester 1, 2. I'll just put it this way. Put your pipe. And once we've entered the right username and the wrong password, we'll receive an error message saying your username or password is incorrect. Okay, so we will put that error message here. So know that all this will come from the requirements, and we'll put our pipe. Okay, you can see our pipe is now long. So the next scenario is, want to do another scenario. So we'll have another pipe where you have invalid username. So I'll take this username and I'll put here, but I will make it invalid. So I will remove some things here. I'll remove some things here to make it invalid. And then I'll put a pipe, and we have valid password. Okay, I'll just use this valid password as well. Just choose this. Put here. This is valid password. Okay, we'll put our pipe, and the same error message will be displayed, your username or password. We're expecting the same error message, which is your username and password. Complete. So we'll put another pipe. Okay. If we want, we can also have another scenario which says invalid username, invalid password. But because of time, let's proceed with this. Okay. So what we have successfully done here, right, is we've successfully used one feature file, okay, to cover different scenarios that we would have had if we were to just use scenario. But because we are using scenario outline, we can now use this table, okay, to actually run our test, pass our test parameter. If you have so many of them, you can as well state them, put them in different. And what this helps us to do is, it helps us to run this in different scenarios. Okay, it's not just as a particular one scenario. It's going to run it as different scenario. So this one will be a different scenario, which is a positive scenario. This will be a negative one, and this one will be another negative one. They are all different scenarios. Okay, so let's go ahead to create our picture file. Okay, you will right click and we'll go to define steps, create it, and this is our step. We're happy with our steps. Okay, we can just click on create and it will automatically create our step for us. We'll click on create, you can see our steps. Our step has been created for us. You can see our step. So these are all our steps. It's been created. Okay, so the next thing we need to do after having created our step is to now go and create our page objects. Okay, we need to create our page objects after our test. And what do we need to do for our page objects? Of course, we know how to create our page objects. To create our page object, we'll have to come here as well. Right click, add new code. You can come here and say login. Okay, page objects .cs, and we can add. So if this is our page object, this is our internal class, we change it to public. Change that to public. Okay, so having changed it to public, we need to create our constructor. Okay, so we have a page object where we've already created a constructor. So because of time, all we need to do is just copy this and we can adjust it. Okay, let's go back to our page object, copy that and paste it here. Okay, so for it to work, your class name would match with this. Okay, this method here. So we'll just change this one. Okay, yeah, you can see it's fine now. So we are fine now. Okay, we've created our constructor. Another thing we need to do, okay, before we start writing everything we need to do, is that we need to create instance of this page or page object in our step definition. Okay, create instance of our page object in our step definition. So, and to do that, you already know, we go to our login page, login step definition, which is this login step definition. Okay, this is our login step definition. We'll create the instance and we'll now see how to do it is because come here, you need to get the class name, which is this. Okay, let's copy it and then go to your step definition. You can go through your step definition here, or you can do it from here. You can see login step definition. You can click on here and you're here. So you click on there, and then our constructor, which is login, to have login, you can put underscore login depending on what you want, or you can just put login. Login. Okay, and that's equal to new login page objects. And then semicolon. So we've done that, so we can always use this login, okay, to call our method from our page objects. Okay, that's what we have done, but we'll come to this. We haven't done anything on the step definition, so we'll come to it later. So the next thing we need to do is on our page objects, we need to move quickly. So what we need to do on our page objects is to firstly, okay, declare all the variables, okay, where we will store our elements. So the first one we need to do, you all know our step, which is we're declaring because we're going to be accessing it on this class. So we can use a private access modifier, private by, okay, private by. The first thing we need to click, the first element, once we have navigated to the website, the first element is to click on the login, right? To click on the login header menu. So we can now say login menu equal to by dots. Okay, so for the purpose of time, we're going to be using, like in our last class, I showed us different method you can use. You can either use your class name, you can use CSS, you can use ID, you can use link, you can use name, partial link, CSS, expert. So we're going to be using expert all through this. Okay, you can use ID, you can use Amy. Okay, so we'll just put our brackets and then our quotation, okay, and then a semicolon. So what we'll do is we'll just duplicate this as well, so we don't have to type it again. Then just paste, 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 paste. Okay, so we're going to rename the variable. So all we need to do, change on this one is once we've clicked on the login, the next field we want to inspect is the username field. So we can enter username. Okay, username. We can enter the username field, and we also have another one is the password as well. Password field. Okay. The next one we need to inspect, the next field you need to inspect is the captcha. So we have the captcha field. Captcha. So after the captcha field, the next thing we need to inspect is login button. Login button. So I have to write in the camera keys. Login button. After the login button, we say for the valid scenario, once we log in, we will have a logout link. So we have to inspect the logout link as well. So we have the logout link that we inspect. After the logout link, the next thing we want to inspect is the error message that will pop up. Error message. So we want to inspect the error message. So once we go on our website, we inspect all this by expert and we'll store them here. Okay. So, but before we go, we want to create all the method. Okay. We want to create the method. And for our method, we say public by. Okay. So our method will say public void. So it's going to be public because we'll be consuming the method from our step definition. So have public void. The first thing we need to do is to click on header menu. Public void, our method will be click on login menu. Click on login menu, and we'll have that's our method. Then curly braces, and then we can say driver dot find elements. Find elements. And we can have that, which is our variable. We can put it in here. And what we want to perform is click. So dot click, which is this. We're not clearing, we're doing dot click. Tab. So that is it for the first one. So the second one is we want to enter the username. So we can do the same thing. We can just copy this and duplicate it. So this one is to enter username. So we'll just change. You can just change the method to enter user name. Okay. So we're entering username. It's going to be driver.find elements. So we change this. We'll change the variable here to username. Okay, let me just type it out. Username. Okay. Username. So this is not click. We are sending key. So we're using .send key method. If you scroll down, you have .send key, or you can start typing it out. Send keys. Okay. Using .send key. So now, for .send key, we need to enter what we want to send. Okay. So remember that we parameterize it. So we'll just put a string here. Just put a string here where we have string, and we want to enter the name of our string, which is username. Okay. Okay, I'm just put user. So for it not to, I'll just put username here. I'll change something because this happened the first time. So I'll change this to field. So I'll just put field here inside this one. Username field. Okay, so this is fine now. You can see username. So the same thing is what we'll do. We'll just put password field, because that's what we're going to inspect. Okay, so for the password field, we will just copy this as well and paste. So what we're entering is enter password. Okay, so we'll just put password here. password, and we can change this to password field as well. Password field. Okay, and the string here, we're just going to put password. And password here as well. Okay, so this should be fine. So we'll have password field. Now we'll have password field as well. So where's that?
Capitalize it.
Okay. So this shouldn't be capital.
I mean down. Okay.
No, I'll have to remove the up one because it's a variable. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So thanks for that. So password. So the next one we will enter is the captcha. So we haven't parameterized captcha, but we're sending keys. We can also parameterize it if we want, but we haven't parameterized it, so we'll just do it. So we've been parameterizing. Let's also use this captcha as one that you can do and pass code it from here without passing it from anywhere and just send. Okay, so this one is we'll enter captcha. So captcha. So we're not sending anything, so we will just remove this because we're not passing anything. And what we need to do is to enter the key that we're sending. Okay, so for this particular one is quite tricky, as you all know. The captcha is there to stop our automated test. Okay, there are ways to it where you can work around it, which is one of it is what we are doing. So this one requires that when you are sending it, for you to bypass, you need to send. Do that. So that's captcha. So this one requires that when you are sending it, okay, you need to do the calculation. So, in our head, we already know what it is. So when you did the calculation, it's 11. When we are running it and it's not, we can change it. But yeah, so I will show you by the time we get back to it. So this is highlighting. Uh, this is not compiling. And the reason why it's not compiling is it is an integer. And for you to pass an integer, you need to enter it in a single quote. In a single quote. Okay, you need to put your integer in a single quote. I'll just move this one. Put it inside a single quote. Okay, so it will compile now. Oh, okay. We're not sending. We're sending it as a string. Sorry, we're sending it as a string. We're not passing it. We're sending it as a string. So we will put it in this. Okay, because we're not passing it as an integer. So yeah. So having done this, the next thing we need to do is to perform our click. And for that, we'll just copy this one as well. You can see on this one, we're just passing the data here. Okay. So we want to perform the click on the login button. So yeah. So we want to perform the click on the login button. So we have click on login button. Yeah. And the only thing we need to get here is our variable, which is login button. Okay. So we'll have a login button here. Yep. So after that, we can now go to our assert the booleans. Okay, because for once we've logged in, whether we've entered username, whether we've entered password, we need to validate an error, what is displayed basically. Okay, so that's why what we'll do now is our public, because now we're returning something which is public bool, no longer void, because we are going to be returning something. We're going to assert that something is displayed. Is logout link logout link display. is logout link displayed. Just put on enter, and then what we want to do is we want to return, okay, return driver dot find element, return driver dot find elements, this, okay, that logout page display. This is the logout page, should be here. If you don't see it, you can just type it because we have it here, or you can come here and copy it. Just place it here, logout page, then it's going to be dot display, displayed. Okay, so one thing you need to bear in mind is that we parameterized it. Okay, we parameterized it, and it's going to come as a string as well because we are passing something. So you have to put string here as well. And once you put the string, you can now put any message, which is message as well we are passing. Okay, so now for you to be able to pass it, you need to print, you need to say console.writeLine. Okay, then brackets. And inside it, we want to put a $sign. And then we can say, inside we can say, checking if logout link is displayed. Checking if logout link is displayed. Okay. Then want to pass that same parameter here as well, which is message. Then semicolon. Okay, so now that you have this, we will also do the same for the other error message, which is this one, error message. Okay, so we can now copy this and duplicate it as well, because this is for the successful one. Duplicate it. What we want to say is error message displayed is error message. Message display is error message displayed. So here, what we're going to be passing is the string is going to be error message. Error message. And here we're going to be putting error message as well. Error message. And what we are returning is error message. Note this. That's what we are returning. But of course, you know, it cannot be the same with this. So otherwise, it's not going to compile. So what we need to do, the display. Okay. So here we are checking if error message is displayed. Checking if error message is displayed. So what we could do is to change this to an abbreviation, okay, which means error message as well. So we can change this as well. Change it to S. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. So next thing, we've completed all our method, all the method we needed to write. So the next thing we're supposed to do is to go and inspect the page, but I want to leave it last. The next thing we need to do is to go and check the page, inspect, get all the locators and store it here. But I will leave it out for now and call our step definition. Call our feature file into our step definition, write the logic, do everything, then come and inspect elements, run my test. Okay, so now, having done this, the next thing that I want to do is to go to my step definition and call all this method. I want to go to our step definition and call the method in our step definition. Okay, so now let's go to our method. Let's go to our step definition, which is, you can go from here, login step definition. So now we want to call the method for click on login. And you know, to do that is very simple. You write your constructor, which is login here. You remove this, then type in your constructor, which is your login. We have it here, login dots. So once you see, click on dot, all the method you've done will be displayed here. You can see, click on login menu. That is the method. Okay, so how do I know? Of course, you know we declared it here, but if you hold down your control key and click on it, it brings you to this method. Okay, so we'll go back. So this is, we've implemented this step, which is click on login. The next step we want to implement is this step as well, where we'll enter our username. You know, we parameterize it. It's coming, all our input data are coming from our feature file, from our table, the table in our feature file. So all we need to do is to call our structure login dot enter username. You can see that is our method, okay, where we'll be implementing the logic. So the next thing we'll need to enter here is the parameter, the string name, which is user name, okay, and it's not compiling because we'll have to enter it here as well, user name, okay, that's fine. So we need to also implement our password step as well, which is the same thing that we did there, login dot enter password, and we also need to enter the string name, which is the password, and we have to pass it here as well, password. Okay, so the next thing is the captcha. We have login dot click on captcha, enter captcha, not click, enter captcha. We have it, enter captcha. That's it. So after that, the next one we'll have is to click on login button as well. So where we will implement the step. Okay, where we have login, small letter, login, which is our constructor, dot click on login button. This is it. Click on login button. The first one is login menu. Yeah, click on login menu. This one is not click on login button. So this is where it becomes interesting. Okay, so because on the assertion, okay, on the assertion, we already have a string here on the assertion, which is saying string, which is logout. Okay, but it's not just logouts that we are passing here. We are passing messages. If you go to our, so let me go to our feature file. If you go to our feature file, you can see we have message, and these are all the different messages. It's not just logouts. We have other parameter that we are passing. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's go back to our step definition. No, this step definition. So what we want to do is I want to implement a logic, okay, that will assert is true if login link is displayed. Okay, so it will run the first step. If login page is displayed, it will assert is true. Okay, else if error message is displayed, okay, it will assert it's true as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put our string, and then we can put message here. Okay, we'll put message here. So we can now say, we'll now implement a logic which will say, we're going to be using an if statement. Okay, to implement the logic, we'll now say if, okay, message, okay, which is this message from step definition. That's my, yeah. If this message from step definition, if message, let's go back as well to our step definition. So if message dot equals, which means if message is equals, okay, to logout. If message dot equals to logout, let's pass logout. Okay. Of two braces. If message dot equal to logout, yeah, what we'll now do is, what do we want to happen? If message is equal to logout, assert dot Yeah, assert dot is true. Okay, assert dot is true. Log, which is our constructor, login dot. Then our method is logout link display. Logout link display. Then we'll now pass our message as parameter. Okay, message. And we'll now end it with semicolon. Okay, so our assert is throwing. We want to introduce using. We're going to click on using NUnit, and that will be fine. Okay, so let's see, fix on this. So message, let me see if this message is correct. Yeah, so message, right? So if we run this, okay, for the first scenario, if you run, and so it will check if message is equal to logout, and note from this one. So once it comes here, you come to this if statement. Okay, read this. Then it will now assert is true that login, okay, that this log out link is displayed. So it will go and check. It will come here, check if the logout page display, which is a return driver define element logout page. If it display, if it does, it will assert is true. Okay. So now we want to implement an else. Okay, which will say so else. We now want to implement an else statement, which is we'll say else asserts else asserts dot is true. Is true. Right. Logout. Assert that is true. We can now have login. Login dot is true. Okay. So we have then else assert is true. Login dot is error message display. We can pass our message. So this is it. So the first one will check if this error message is this, it would assert this. Okay. So if this condition doesn't meet, okay, the error message is not displayed for this valid one, it will now come here and check. Okay, if assert that this is this. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are now going to implement the locators. We're going to implement locators here. Okay, so and our locator, let's go to our page objects. So no, the wrong page object. Let's go to this page objects now. Let me expand this. Yeah. So we'll go to this page object. So we want to inspect the login. Okay, come here and go here. So when we go back, this is our login. We can now inspect it. Okay. So we want to inspect our login. Click on it. So if we click on it, we can come here. Okay. So if we come here, we can use. So we can just say copy experts anyway. We can say copy experts so we can finish it off. Remember the last time I went through how to customize. Click on Control F and paste. Let's see the expert that we have. Okay, this is the expert we have. We'll just copy it. I went through how to use, ID and all that. Okay, in our last class. So you can also use ID for these different ones if they have. Okay, so but for this, we'll just go ahead with our experts. So just copy this and then come to our test and paste here. Okay, so we'll go back and click on login. The next one we want to do is we want to inspect this field. Okay, this is a field. Okay, you can use this one name as log. We can use the placeholder. We'll have the ID as well. You can use this ID. Okay, so let's use the ID and see how many is. Let me see, Control F. Is one of two. One of two. So we can use it. Yeah. No, which one is? Have to see which one is. So we have ID. Okay, we have it here as well as the arrow label. They have it here as the arrow label, which is the first one. And if we use it, we'll only see this one. Okay, you have the name as well. So yeah, we can use the ID or we can just write an expert using this ID. But we've got through that. If you use this, it will just capture the arrow label, which is this, and might not impute anything on it. Anyway, so we'll just copy experts as well. Just so we'll go. You can use type as well in this attribute. So this is one of one. This is an expert for the ID. We'll just copy that here and then paste it here. And the next thing we need to do is come on the website again, inspect this field. Come on here, inspect this. Let's do the ID again as well. Copy. Let's see what we have. Password underscore user, which is the same. Come here and paste password. So the next one is a capture field as well. Come to the capture field and then inspect. You can see the reason why I'm passing 11 is because 8 plus 3 is 11. So it hasn't changed. Maybe not the best of capture that you can have. So you can have the ID as well. Here, you can see name here as well. So if I check this, if I use the ID, let's see how many of what is. It's one of two. So we'll have it here as the class. So you can decide to which one is which. Yeah, the two of two. Yeah, the one of two is the one that is on top. So if you see it, it's going to be clicking on this, which you don't want. So you rather write an expert for it. Okay, so I'm going to write an expert. I'm going to copy the expert. You can customize it and make it better. I went through how to do that the last time. So just copy this. It's longer, but yeah. Can go on our projects. Paste. That is long. So the next one is the login. The next one we want to do is the login page, which is this login button. Okay, we'll click on it. Click on the login button. So it has a value. This, it has an ID. This as well. Okay, it has a name. This, submit. So let's look at the ID. It's going to be one of one. Yeah, one of one. Then we can use ID here. Okay, then we can go to our test and then login button is going to be this. You can change it to ID. That's ID. Okay, so we would also get the logouts. Okay, we'll get the logout. So if we log in successfully, let me go on here. If we log in successfully, we'll see the logouts. Okay, so one way we can do that is to manually come here and log in with the right username and password so we can get the logouts. Okay, so how can we do that? We can get our valid username and valid password and log in. So I'm going to get our valid username and our valid password and log in. Okay, so that we can get everything and run our test once. Log in, then get our valid password and log in, and then enter this. There's 11. So if I click on login, this is what our automated test is going to be performing. If I click on login, you can see, no, not now. You can see the logouts that will be displayed. So we can inspect this and get that logouts. can inspect it and get the logout. So click on this and then logout. So this is here. Let's copy it. Export. Okay, come back to my project and paste it. Okay, so there you go. So the error message. So you can also stimulate an invalid username and invalid password for the error message to be displayed. Okay, so I can go here and then click on login again. Okay, I'll just put this error message. Just put this and then put 11 and then try to log in. I should get an error message displaying. Okay, which says your username or password was incorrect. So you can get that as well. Okay, you can get that as well and have it as your error message. So let's go. This is it. Username and password are incorrect. You can copy the expert for that as well. So let's see the experts. I'll copy it. So this is it. Username and expert are incorrect. So you can copy that, and that is it. We have done it end to end. So the next thing we need to do is to enter that. Okay. The next thing we need to do is to enter it. So let's have a look at this. Because that one that we choose is one of two. So okay, I've not pasted it anyway. Let me paste it. Okay, so this is one of one. Yeah. So if I click on this, it highlights it. So I can just copy this and then put it here. Yeah, that's it. Okay. We've written all the steps. We've gone through the step definition, the feature file, the page object. We've done everything we're supposed to do. Now is the moment of truth. So we're going to save and build our project. Build our project. So if we build our project, our building has started. So our building is succeeded. So we can see this scenario. So when we look at this scenario, when we open it, the login feature, let me just open this so we can see. So we have login. Login feature has three steps, three tests. So you can see the login has three steps. We have the first one, okay, which has the right username and the right the password. Okay, the wrong password. We have this as well, username and wrong password. We'll have this as well, username and the right password. Okay, so now let's run our test. Yeah, let's run. I'm going to run the test first. I'm going to click on, yep. Okay, so let's see what's happened. Open test log. So it has done giving user navigate to URL. It has done giving user click on the header. It did user enter password, which it did enter, and user enter captcha. Okay, so where user enter captcha is where it failed. So yeah, it's because of the captcha. Of course, we know captchas are there to stop automated test, but we will run it on debug. Okay, and then make sure that the calculation is right. If it's not, we can impute the right one. So let's stop at the captcha before the captcha, which is user enter password. Okay, so we can now run on debug. Debug. So we'll see it and then enter the right thing. Yep. So if we go on, here, you can see that it has entered the username, and this time it's entering the wrong username anyway. So this is the wrong username, the one that we're running. So it has entered the username. Okay, so let's see why. And 8 plus this, so the captcha is still okay. So let's go back to our test. Let me close this. So let's do step over. Okay, click on step over again. Okay, step over. Stepping over the password. Step over. Okay. Step over. So the password should have entered now. So this is the password. We've entered the password. Okay, we are on the captcha. So let's do step in. So it's the captcha. So let's see if the calculation is still correct. We have 8 plus this, which is 11. So that is right. So let's see why it's not entering. Step over. Let me step in. So let's see the feature file to make sure everything is fine. Yeah, everything is fine. So you should enter 11. Step in. Okay, it's saying element not interactable. So the captcha element is not interactable. That's why it's failing. So you can stop debugging and reinspect that element, the captcha element. Make sure it's correct. Okay. So the captcha element, let me see what we have. Okay. So let's redo the captcha element again and see the right thing. Okay. So if I go here and reinspect the captcha element, so here I can inspect this. Okay, so I have the ID, which is this. So let me do control. So I have ID, which is this. So I can use this particular, which says the input, then ID equal to this, which is 1 of 1. Yeah, so I can use that. And let's replace it with what we have here. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So once we have that now, we should be able to, let's run the test. Should be able to run our tests and see what happens. So watch carefully, you will see when it enters everything. It's going to be quick. Click on the enter login, enter captcha, click on login. That should pass. Yeah. So you entered, click on login, and then the wrong error message displays, and that passed. So if I click on this again, you see, you click on login again, enter username, enter password, and click on login. Then it passed because it's clicked on the login. So that should pass. Yeah, and this is for successful one. And then we will run this as well. This is for the unsuccessful one. Click on login, password. You saw the error message displays. That passed. Okay, so any question?